Hey guys, how is it going this morning? I witnessed the Highlanders game against the Chiefs. This was the first game of the Super Rugby competition in New Zealand, the domestic based competition there. This was a fantastic game. I really enjoyed every single minute of it. One that I looked forward to, and it definitely didn't disappoint. However, I was wrong with the score prediction. I predicted that the Chiefs would beat the Highlanders. I was incredibly wrong. It was a tightly contested affair. It definitely was not one-sided. I actually thought that the Chiefs would outright just win this game, but the lead was exchanged about 3 or 4 times to my memory. It was a really competitive and a good game. The halftime score was 22-16 to the Highlanders, and the full-time score was 28-2017 to the Highlanders getting the win over there. The game was played in Dunedin, so it was a home game for the Highlanders, and they really relished the opportunity. Fantastic rugby being played on both parts. I think the low point or the disappointing aspect of the game was definitely the discipline. There were 29 penalties given, sort of equal distribution between the teams throughout the game. This is actually atrocious, to be honest. It was close to a 14-15 count, a penalty count per team. This is incredibly low for professional rugby standards. However, I do understand that during or after the New Zealand COVID-19 situation, the players have been off for a while, and after a long layoff, they actually didn't look too bad. There will be some casualties, and that was the discipline for sure. Other than that, I must say I was really impressed by the physical condition that the players were in on both sides. Well done to the S&C staff on both teams for keeping the boys in good shape during the lockdown that they had in New Zealand. And just all things considering the fact that they didn't have much of a pre-season or any pre-season or friendly games leading up to this, for a full contact match like that, it was just an exciting affair, to be honest. So I'll start with my player rankings of the Highlanders 15. Eden Johnson at number 1, I gave a 7 out of 10 to. Ash Dixon, the captain of the Highlanders at hooker. He played pretty well, but I gave him a 6. I think he could have done more. However, his leadership was uncanny. The tight head prop Tokalulu, I gave him a 6. A solid outing for him. Decent maul performance on the Highlanders' part. They scored 3 tries. All 3 were started from mauls, so that's definitely a strong point for them, and one which they will be focusing on going forward in the Super Rugby New Zealand competition. Then the locks were a highlight for me in the entire game, to be honest. It was Papari Parkinson, the number 4. He played quite well. I gave him a 6. And then Josh Dickinson, he was my man of the match, the number 5 lock for the Highlanders. I gave him a 9. Now Josh Dixon is a player that I actually didn't know of coming into this game, but he's a veteran of sorts. He was fantastic from the minute go, taking the kickoff receipts, lineouts, defense, his carries, his maul presence on defense and on attack was just extravagant. It was absolutely fantastic, and he was the centerpiece for the Highlanders today. That was a fantastic performance from him, and he definitely deserves the man of the match. It's not often that we see the tighties getting the recognition they deserve, but today this man was fantastic. He was all over the park and he gave his best effort. Then number 6, Shannon Frizzell, he was quite good as always. The All Black number 6 ball carries, so I gave him a 7 out of 10. Mariano Makalele Tua, interesting name that. The number 8, I gave him an 8. Great carries, great presence throughout the 80 minutes, and I loved every contribution that he gave. Then the number 7, Dylan Hunt, he had one crucial turnover at the end, and I thought he gave a solid game. He could do more, so I gave him a 6 out of 10. Then the talisman, the Highlanders legend Aaron Smith, the scrum off, the All Black scrum off, he had a good game. He was quite solid. He led from the front. He took a lot on himself, a lot of draw passes, and he set the attack up very nicely. I enjoyed his kicking game too, a bit reckless at times, but I look forward to seeing him leading from the front for the rest of the season with the Highlanders. So I gave Aaron a 7, knowing what he can do a lot more. but nonetheless a clean performance from him. Then the Highlanders number 10 is Mitch Hunt. I was not impressed by his performance today. A few bad kicks, and he missed one easy penalty kick, so I've given him a 5. Yeah, he just didn't show up today. Then number 11, I have Jonah Nareki. He ended up getting a yellow card during the game. Poor yellow card. It was quite personal on Damien McKenzie. He just gave a tackle without any arms, and I wasn't pleased with that, but I gave him a 5 out of 10. Then the number 12, the inside centre, Patalesio Tomkinson, he was quite good today with his game. He was actually really good. The centre pairing played really well, the 12 and the 13, so he was the inside centre. I gave him an 8 out of 10. I thought he was outstanding, to be honest. His defensive work was great, his attack was good, his support play, communication on defense, every aspect of his game was good, so I give him an 8. Then number 13, Rob Thompson. Quiet game today. He had a few important tackles that he made, but on attack he wasn't that potent, so I've given him a 6 out of 10. I can't say too much there. The same with Sam Gilbert, the youngster at 14, the right wing. It was his debut today. I thought he was okay. It was a clean debut. Not too much to say there either. He had a few carries, but I look forward to seeing him get more of an important role in this team as the years go on. Then at fullback, Koroi, he joined the Highlanders. I know he was training with the New Zealand Sevens team for the Olympics, but unfortunately that has been postponed this year to, I think it's been postponed to 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Koroi, also another discipline issue there. He got a yellow card in the first half, towards the end of the first half, and that affected the Highlanders. Kept the Chiefs in the game. I was not happy with his performance, but to that was Bryn Gatland, Warren Gatland's son, the coach of the Chiefs. His son came on at fullback rather late in the game, I think in the 60th minute, and he was outstanding, to be honest. Every touch that he got, every kick that he got, tactically, his leadership, his defense, he looked in place. It was just a confident and a solid performance by him. Off the bench, it's not often that guys with so little time get into the game quickly and make an effort to get into the game and then they make an impact on the game like Bryn did. So Bryn was actually the one that gave the match-winning drop goal at the end, with about 3 or 4 guys pressuring him in his face, running at him. Drop goal gave the Highlanders a much-needed home win over his father's team, the Chiefs, actually. So definitely a bittersweet moment for Warren Gatland. I don't know how he would react to that drop goal. It's your son sinking the Chiefs, but at the same time you're the head coach of the Chiefs. Awkward one. But nonetheless, I definitely think Aaron Major needs to consider starting Bryn Gatland next week. I know the Highlanders have a bye, so the following week in their next fixture, I really would like to see Bryn Gatland get more time. Off the bench as well was Liam Coltman. I think I can speak about him. He got a good half an hour in, some good carries when Ash Dixon came off, the captain at hooker. Good throws, just a clean performance, not much to say there. I gave him a 6. Yeah. And then also there was another replacement in Dan Leonard-Brown in the front row. It's Anton Leonard-Brown's brother. He played against his brother, and Dan Leonard-Brown was solid in the front row as well, so I gave him a 6. The tries on the Highlanders part were scored by the first try was a maul try by Ash Dixon, the hooker. Co Thompson at the 21st minute, and the 8th man Mariona Makalele Tua scored in the 39th minute. As I said before, all these tries were started or launched by a great attacking maul. Then we go on to the Chiefs. I was sorely disappointed by the Chiefs front row, to be honest. I just didn't see them. They didn't make an effort. The scrums were equally contested, so I can't say too much about that, but in terms of their maul defense, they just let the Highlanders run wild. they took everything that the Highlanders gave them, and they didn't react positively. They just didn't sack any mauls. They just took it and they went back. As I said, the Highlanders scored 3 tries from the start of a maul, and that's definitely on them. Eden Ross, the Lucid, he was okay. He gave a few decent carries. I gave him a 6. The hooker, Samisoni, I gave him a 5 out of 10. He gave a maul penalty where he went around on the defensive maul, just cynical high school error, and he was nowhere during the game. So the only time I saw him was when he gave the penalty away. A few really bad throws, and they had to sub him at the 53rd minute. I mean, the man looked like match fixing, to be honest. The guy was missing his throws, the jumpers, and him weren't in sync. Disappointing, to say the least. And their forward coach has a lot of work to get done with him. And then Nipo Lalala, the tight head, he was solid, decent scrum effort, and considering that he's back from injury, I gave him a 6. I thought he was alright, and he gave a outing which he can work on. Then Mitch Brown was probably the worst player on the field today. The number 4 lock, he was offside and he gave an illegal sack, so that's 2 penalties that he gave. He got injured, carried on playing, and I think he went off in about the 23rd minute. It's just all he gave was negative contributions. I don't even think you can call that a contribution. But the man who replaced him, the 19, the lock with the long hair, I'm not sure of his name, I'll get to that later. He was fantastic. Came off the bench, he played about 60 odd minutes, and this man was a near match winning, a near man of the match performance from him. He gave great carries, positive tackles, just great chat, and I loved every minute of his game. Then the number 5, Topu Vadi, I gave him a 5 out of 10. Can't say much there as well. Quite a quiet game from him, not his best effort. The number 6, Luke Jacobson, it was his 50th game. A few cynical errors from him. He gave a penalty, he gave a forward pass, lost the ball in contact, just really not his best outing. Can't say I look forward to much more of him. On his 50th game, you expect the guy to give everything, and he really did the opposite of that. Then the Fijian 8th man, Peter Sawakula, with the Chiefs, also another bad performance, to be honest. Really ill-disciplined, various disciplinary infringements. So I've given him a 6. You might say, why has he gotten a 6 and Luke Jacobson a 5? Well, he tried for the full 80 minutes. He had some decent carries, but they were outweighed by his disciplinary infringements. Then at 7, Lachlan Boshier, he got 1 good turnover, but to be honest, he played about 75 minutes and he was nowhere throughout the game. He had 1 good turnover. I've given him a 6. It's really not his best effort. Then the captain, Brad Weber of the Chiefs, the number 9, all-round bad performance on his part. He underperformed, a few bad kicks. He just didn't lead from the front at all. There was no leadership present. I didn't know that he was the captain until I looked and saw the armband on his arm, and poor decision making, so I've given him a 4 out of 10. I just can't understand why he's the captain. Then with number 10, Caleb Trask, he went off at the 50th minute, another bad outing. To be honest, the halfback pairing just isn't working in the Chiefs. I gave him a 5 out of 10. Then at number 11, we had Sean Wainui. He was a highlight for me. A fantastic game that he played. High ball, territorial game. His aerial game was fantastic, taking the high balls from the Highlanders. He put the Highlanders on a lot of pressure defensively. The man he had a few line breaks, a few passes, and he was involved. In fact, he was their first try scorer at the 27th minute. So I've given Sean Wainui an 8. If he can continue with this form, I think the 11 All Black jersey could be up for contention on his part. At number 12, we have Anton Leonard-Brown, another highlight. The All Black number 12 as well. A few disciplinary infringements, to be honest. He was offside, and once or twice he ran with the ball out, which is another cynical and immature rugby error. decent attacking contributions and defensive contributions, as we've come to know from Anton Leonard-Brown. So I've given him a 6 out of 10, knowing what he can do. He can do much better. He wasn't too good today. Then at 13, Quinn Tupaya, the youngster, was fantastic today. He was really good. He did everything that you need from an outside center. Connected with the 12, linked the outside backs into the game. I couldn't ask more from an outside center, especially a young outside center. A few crucial tackles which kept the Chiefs in the game, so I've given him an 8 out of 10. I definitely look forward to seeing more from him, and hopefully his career can progress as it is. At 14, Sean Stevenson, a solid, clean performance. He didn't get too much ball, but when he was required to make important tackles, he did just that. 1 or 2 decent ruck pressures, so I've given him a 6 out of 10. He definitely needs to get more involved in attack, but a solid performance from him. Then finally at fullback we had Damian McKenzie. He was also the team's kicker. He kicked 5 out of the 6 kicks over. He missed 1 crucial try conversion. However, he was very good all day aerially. His aerial game was fantastic. He won every 50-50 ball in the air. Small man that he is, he would take it. He was putting pressure on the defensive line of the Highlanders regularly. And to be honest, I felt like he was the captain today. He wasn't that vocal, but he led through his actions. He played fantastically well, as we've come to know from Damian McKenzie, and I think he should solidify his spot in the All Black team as the All Black number 15 if he continues to have outings like this one. Aaron Cruden, another exciting moment in the game. He came on in the 52nd minute as Caleb Trask, as I said before, the fly-off was not up to scratch. Aaron Cruden came on and he was good. He kicked a few penalties out into touch. Decent distance considering he's also back from injury. Not back from injury, back from Japan. So not necessarily new to the Chiefs franchise, but for this stint, this is the first in a few years that he's been back in New Zealand. So good to see him on what they would call home soil. Good effort on his part. He did weather the storm. He looked comfortable, and I look to see him starting at 10 in their next fixture. Then, as I said before, the lock that went on for Mitch Brown at number 4. He wore jersey number 19. He was fantastic. Can't give him enough credit. He really worked hard to keep the forward pack. He was by far my choice for the best forward in the Chiefs pack. A really passive Chiefs pack. He was a standout. And then Slater, the hooker, came on in the 53rd minute for Samisoni. He was good. Definitely better line-out balls from him. A few good carries. I think he too could look at a start soon if Samisoni doesn't pick his socks up. And in the 71st minute, Anton Leonard scored the try, which sort of put them into contention. That is the conversion which Damian McKenzie missed. To end this off, I think this was a exciting clash. As I said before, the lead was exchanged multiple times. Both teams playing high tempo rugby today. The only injury or the casualty being Mitch Brown, which wasn't too serious as he continued to play. But and just on that as well, the high tempo rugby. However, I was actually quite surprised to see that the only real injury was Mitch Brown. He was injured early on in the game and he carried on playing, so it wasn't too serious, but Gatland took him off. I could see he just wasn't making many positive contributions, and it was the right decision to bring number 19 on. Then lastly, it was definitely an interesting rugby sight, and one which I'll remember seeing Bryn Gatland sink that drop goal to beat the Chiefs. This was a great game. I'd like to congratulate New Zealand Rugby for a fantastic start of their New Zealand Super Rugby campaign, the domestic version of Super Rugby for them. And congrats on a great game. I look forward to the Blues game tomorrow.